Hello, my friends. It's your buddy Phil, project management trainer and coach again. I am here to share 4 very basic questions with my friends getting ready for the exam. Again, if you're one of the whiz kids, you're going to find this to be very trivial. But anyway, let's go. Here is the first question. You're working on creating an authorization for Project XZR. Which of the following is true? You're developing a stakeholder register. You're developing a project management plan. You're using expert judgment as a technique. You're developing a statement of work. Which one is correct? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think of the answer while I sip on a drink. Go for it. All right. Well, if this was on the PMP exam, you know your 1 minute 12 seconds would almost be up. So let's take a look at the answer here. The answer to this is C. You are using expert judgment as a technique. So if you're creating authorization for Project XZR, you're obviously in initiating, right? If you're in initiating, you can immediately disqualify B. You are not developing a project management plan. Now, if you're creating authorization, even though you're in initiating, you are not developing a stakeholder register, that would come after the authorization. So A, you can cancel out as well. And D, it says you're developing a statement of work. Now, authorization for the project is not creating a statement of work. In cases where you do get a statement of work as a precursor to initiating the project, that is not looked at as developing a statement of work. Your statement of work would be included in, for example, a contract or some other type of agreement. So D would also be wrong. So if I was on the PMP exam, I would use my strikeout function to cancel D, B, and A, and the answer is C. All right, here is another one. You're working on creating a document that logs stakeholder information. What technique does this describe? Is it stakeholder register? Is it power interest grid? Is it stakeholder analysis, or is it perfect judgment? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Thank you, Shri, and thank you, Mohanad, for chatting in. I think that was in response to this question. Very good. So you guys should have already seen some of this on the learning management system. But well done. It's great to see you guys, and I hope you guys are getting ready to put in some mega work this weekend. I am really anxiously and eagerly looking forward to you guys acing the exam. You know that. I'm counting on you because I know you can do it. So let's see what the answer is. So, which of these is not a technique? Those would be the ones to strike off right off the bat. So any of these things that's not a technique, that's already a giveaway. So there's no such thing as perfect judgment. We would cancel that. The stakeholder register is not a technique. We would cancel A as well. And power interest grid is not a legitimate technique, even though it is a thing that we use as we are analyzing our stakeholders. But the real tool and technique is C. It is indeed stakeholder analysis. And if you're wondering where all this stuff is, if you go to 13.1 in the PMBOK guide and you really read what exactly is being used, you'll identify that the tools and techniques you've got there include: 1, expert judgment; 2, data gathering, such as questionnaires and surveys and brainstorming; and 3, this is where it's hiding, data analysis. But you see, the question does not state data analysis as one of the options. So you got to go to the sub bullets, and then you see stakeholder analysis, and then you see document analysis. Now, it's not until you get to data representation that you discover your power interest grid, power influence grid, impact influence grid, stakeholder cube, salience model, directions of influence, and prioritization. Those are under data representation. So you got to know your sub bullets to be solid for the exam. Now, here are a couple of questions that have already been answered on the group. So my friends Shri and Mohanad, you guys have already seen this stuff on the group. So this question, you are working on your project, creating a visual representation of an organization's data described in business language, independent of technology, to identify where data integrity issues can arise. Which process are you currently working on? Is it manage quality? Is it plan quality management? Is it collect requirements? Or define scope? I'll give you a 1 minute, 12 seconds, just like the PMI would. I want you to think about it, choose an option. All right, my friends. This one may be a little bit of a head scratcher, but let's see what the answer is. The answer is ta-da, B. How and why could the answer be B? Now, if you don't read this question correctly, you could get it wrong, because it says you're working on your project creating a visual representation of an organization's data described in business language, independent of technology, to identify where data issues, get the last two words, can arise. Not where data issues have arisen, but where they can arise. It's a dead giveaway that you are doing some sort of foresight, planning of sorts, so that you know what to look out for in your QA, in your executing. So even beyond the language in the question, this is a direct cutout of the logical data models, LDM. Now, if you go to 8.1 in the PMBOK guide on page 284, it states logical data models are a visual representation of an organization's data described in business language and independent of any technology, any specific technology. The logical data model can be used to identify where data integrity or other quality issues can arise. So at the end of the day, this is what you do in order to get a solid quality management plan. So the answer is B. This is an example of those questions that are a direct cutout of the PMBOK guide. And honestly, let me just let you know, folks, you ain't ever going to be able to know it all. But you should be able to get a good idea of what tool and technique is being discussed. So it goes beyond the cramming of tools and techniques and more into the understanding of tools and techniques. And you want to do this regularly. In fact, if I were you, I would make it a daily ritual to go through page 686 to 694 and just flip through those few pages and see if any tool and technique catches your eye as far as something you've never really paid attention to, and look it up and do it as an exercise, as a daily ritual. That would be my 2 cents. And if there's any tool and technique that you have not drawn out by hand or used in a conceptual manner, I would advise you to do that. You see, there's so many great tools and techniques out there, examples that are out there, but you have to search to find them, or just create your own. See, let's go to the next one. This one is a pretty easy one. Jimmy Boi is working 15-hour days. While discussing with your colleague Jillian, you decide to adjust the resource allocation on a number of days, thus elongating the schedule. What is this technique called? Is it called resource optimization, or is it called schedule compression? Or is it called develop schedule? Or is it known as crashing? What do you think? 1 minute, 12 seconds, just like on the exam. Thank you, Shri, for chatting in. I am glad you guys are getting more and more confident with this stuff. I hope you are, in addition to all of this stuff, taking great notes and creating your own charts and graphs and flow interactions for the processes. All right. 1 minute, 12 seconds, pretty much up. So the answer to this is, drum roll, the big reveal. It's resource optimization. You probably knew that already. Now, if you were looking for a particular answer that you didn't find, the best thing to have done would be to choose the next best answer. So the best answer in this case would have been resource leveling, because it talks about adjusting resource allocation and elongating the schedule. Now, this couldn't be resource smoothing, because resource smoothing does not elongate the schedule. If you go to page 211 and read all the information there, towards the bottom of the page, it says, resource optimization is used to adjust the start and finish dates of activities to adjust planned resource use to be equal to or less than resource availability. Examples of resource optimization techniques that can be used are resource leveling, resource smoothing. You got to read it to really understand that. All right. So those are the two other ones that are on the group already. And I know that my friends Shri and Mohammed have already seen those questions and already probably know the answers. So I hope that helped you. But beyond all of this, folks, if you have one or two things you would like to know a little bit more about, I would love to answer those for you, because that's why I'm here, to answer any questions you might have. So if you have any questions, now would be an awesome time to let me know. Questions or concerns? If there are any.